Hey, boxing aficionados, what's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. I'd really like to talk about one of the most miraculous metamorphoses that I've witnessed in the realm of the YTBC YouTube boxing channels. That's taken place before me. I don't think I've ever seen a person change their perspective or their narrative as sharply as I've witnessed Fred from Barbershop Conversations do. Fred from Barbershop Conversations was a channel that I literally detested. It was, to my estimation, in my opinion, fraught with a lot of lies, chock full of lies that were all slanted to support the nonsense that was taking place in the PBC. It was a channel that I thought did a disservice to anyone with any intelligence. And the man was definitely a diehard supporter of all PBC narratives. And so I would tune in from time to time to Barbershop Conversations whenever I wanted to get a good laugh, like, I don't know. I have this thing where I tune into channels that support PBC narratives. I tune into them after their narratives get exposed or one of their fighters gets beaten, whatever. So I just tune in just to kind of like relish in their pain. I'm a sick puppy, so listen, that's just my thing. Anyway, so I used to tune in, them and the Boxing Voice. I love to tune into the Boxing Voice whenever, like somebody like a Chris Colbert gets beaten, after Ness supports them and thinks that they're this and that and the third, and then you see what they are for real, But that's not the point. I don't want to really divert from really making this point. So this Fred from Barbershop Conversations, right? And then lo and behold, I saw him have a fallout with the PBC. Actually, with Al Haymonite. Right. I don't know what it was about. I think I did at one point. I don't remember. It's not that important. The point is that he had the fallout with the PBC and Al Haymonite, and I don't know if it was related to at the same time where he ended up like getting slapped by Sean Porter's father. Kenny Porter, but it was around that time. I remember now. The lady who takes care of the press coverage or the press credentials at PBC, I think denied Fred. I think it started denying Fred access for some reason. I think it was related to that Kenny Porter thing. I'm not sure. Anybody in the comments later can please clear me up on what the story was there. But like I said, the important thing is how much Fred has changed since that incident. I tune into his channel now, and this dude is on fire. He's talking about some real shit he's keeping it 100 in as far as representing his truth, right? He's representing his truth, and what I mean by that is that he talks about different issues truthfully, but his opinions on it. And so he's going off on Al Heyman. He's talking about all the stuff that that I was talking about years ago. The kind of stuff that makes you get called a coon by the LDBC types. So now he's being called a coon for talking about the realities of what's going on behind the scenes, at PBC. Al Heyman owing Broner money, Al Heyman not making fights, the fact that their fighters, for the most part fight once a year, or once every 10, 11 months at the most. He's talking about all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, boy, oh boy, oh boy. How do you go from one extreme to the other? I don't understand it. But his show has become so interesting. And not just because he's hating on PBC, but other stuff he talks about that I do 100% agree with, the importance of achieving independence from anything, from everything, from self-employment to being being able to maintain, like I said, independent economic values. He's very much a conservative in his perspective. And then he talks about like Devin Haney, and it's interesting because he thinks that Devin Haney is getting chided or mistreated by boxing, and like they're not fighting him because he's black and all this other stuff, man. And I think where we part companies is that where I don't think it's a racial issue. I don't think that Devin Haney's not getting these fights because he's black. I'm thinking he's not getting these fights because Devin Haney has never has failed in making himself marketable. He's failed in creating a real buzz. His buzz occurs only on Twitter. His buzz occurs only in interviews on YouTube. His buzz only occurs, from his mouth, but there's no substance to it, man. It's not based on his performances. And that's the issue, as far as Devin Haney's concerned. But Fred from Barbershop Conversations thinks it's a black thing, We gotta, this and that and third, but he is calling out Al Heyman for not signing Terrence Crawford. That's another thing that I'm like, wow, he's really going in. He's exposing this Al Heyman for the hypocrisy of Al Heyman's tenant. Everybody that supported the PBC, the LDBC types, supported Al Heyman because it's pro-black and this and that and the third. But here is Terrence Crawford is out there. You're not making fights. There's no Bob Arum to blame now. There's no Bob Arum to blame, right? There's no networks to blame. But Terrence Crawford is still a free agent. And what's come to light is that Terrence Crawford was, for the most part, fighting 2 times a year and getting more money off his, guaranteed contract, just based off his guarantees, then these PBC fighters, supposed elites, were making on their pay-per-views. Terrence Crawford's contract peaked at about $5 million per fight by the end. It started off at 3.5 million, went up to 4 million, then 4.5 million, then for 5 million, then he made 5.5 million twice, and then he ended up with the last fight banking $6 million. But not based on his pay-per-view numbers, right? Guaranteed. That was his guarantee. Meanwhile, these PBC fighters, the Errol Spencers, are going to pay-per-view to reach, to be in his realm, to be in Terrence Crawford's guaranteed realm. And Fred from the Barbershop Conversations is talking about these things, and I am in shock. I'm in shock. I'm like, man, I've never seen an about face so stark, take place in any character in media, ever. I don't know. Maybe I'm caught up in the moment right now, and I'm not thinking clearly. But I really, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Anyway, it's a great show. It's a great show, Barbershop Conversations. He talks about a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. Not even having to do with boxing, but life issues. And the man has some very, I don't know if he knows it, but they're real conservative principles that I wholeheartedly agree with and champion. I'm glad that somebody's bringing that message to, that somebody's propagating that message, and it's a black man. I'm really grateful for that. Anyway, that's enough for me. Leave me a comment in the comment section, in the comment sections, if you've tuned into his show and know what I'm talking about. Talk about a little bit about Devin Haney. I'm gonna have to make a Devin Haney video by itself, because that's a whole other thing. He deserves his own little 10, 15 minutes, Anyway, I'm out. Next Level Boxing Talk, baby. Peace.